Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and fight fans around the world. It's your boy P. Welsh here with another UFC picks, predictions, and preview show. Now, we're going to do a little recap from last week. Not the prettiest week for us. Our first losing week doing the recordings. Bad read with Aldridge, losing first fight to Hardy. Hardy looked like a beast, but could have been a split decision, but unanimous. Whatever, take your lumps. Charles Johnson was a nice read coming over Jake Hadley. Looked like he was in the zone. This fight was way closer. Fight of the night. Billy Ray Goff, Trey Waters. The gas tank was emptied in the first five, but they showed a lot of heart. Ricci over Pennington or Heechee over Rennington. Easy money. We lost on the reversal. Ribovic over McKinney. What a finish in the first freaking minute. That's amazing. Bad read on Hooper over Borshev. He just dominated him. Same with Despan Sage over Costas or whatever, Cortez Acosta. One Woodson on the card. Ferreira, what a comeback against Rybicki. He got beat frick up, man. Olberg, easy pick. And then we lost Buckley, looked so good. And Lewis put the L on the record in St. Louis in the third round TKO. Fire card. We're going to be bringing on to Barbosa fight card here against Leroy Murphy. Saturday, May 18th in the Apex. Starting off, we're going to have to use a little bit of some other cards, but I think starting off the night is Vanessa Demopoulos versus Emily Ducati in the women's strawweight division. Of course, the UFC website is working perfectly, so we're going to actually just look over it here. No, not like that. Not like that. So we have Ducati here, 13-8, coming off a win against Vanessa Little Monster, coming off a win. The one thing I remember about this fight is if she was plus 6,000 on the live odds when the fight closed, and she still got the win. I'm picking Ducati here. Very similar reach, a little bit longer on the reach. I think she's a little bit younger of a fighter. I think she has more upside than what Vanessa does. No lie, there's some extracurriculars for Vanessa that I think maybe influenced the judging a little bit. But definitely did not see her getting her last win, and I don't see her getting another one in this one. Starting off the fight, I mean, minus 300 is not something that I'm willing to lay there, but I definitely can see this fight going over in rounds, going to the decisions scorecard, and I just see a lot of output from the younger Ducati there to start off the night. In the women's flyweight division, strawweight division. Let's get it right there. So then we're gonna move on to the next fight here. We got Al Gali versus Keldon Rodriguez, 16-9-2 versus 8-3 in the men's bantamweight division, the absolutely killer division. Coming off a loss, both gentlemen, slight underdog coming for Al Tong Lee versus Keldon Rodriguez. Advantage on the age to Rodriguez, where I think I'm going to be leaning towards in this fight because I think he just has more potential. I know that Aung Tong Lee can just get beat up and play and fight and win that way, but I'm not sure if he can somebody that has an X factor in there. I think this one is going to be a very highly contested fight going to the judges' scorecard. I don't think, like I said, the odds, I think, tell how close this could be. I think I can see Rodriguez getting a submission finish by chance. I don't have this one on the main page. So this one should be a very interesting matchup. I can't wait to see it. I just can't pick Aung Tong Lee just because I just know he's just not the most polished of fighters. And when you look at his history, losses to Gutierrez, a couple wins, but against nobody considerable. Rescheduled against Hugo, who's a monster. Maybe he didn't want to fight Hugo, who's a beast. And he's going to go pick on Rodriguez, who lost recently to Basharat, which is he's a stud. Lost to Vergara. He's good on a main card. But I could see definitely a big bounce back position here for Keldon Rodriguez in the bantamweight division. Maybe by a little subby getting in there to start the night off. Bang! We're going to start going with Keldon Rodriguez there. On to the next fight. We're going to have Pereira Rodriguez versus Ariane Carnolesi. And man, this should be another good scrap here. 9-1 in the women's strawweight division versus 14-3. And all I could think about in previewing this matchup is, Carnolesi looks absolutely yoked. She doesn't have too many bad performances on her resume. Both ladies coming off a loss, which is nothing to be to say anything about. I think this is a very. I'm leaning Carnalesi here just because I think the physical output could what changes the outcome of the game, right? Like Rodriguez can probably dominate people that are inferior or equal to her, but if somebody's actually superior, how does she play up in her, strength class and her movement speed? What if somebody can actually compete with or increasing like that, especially with power and strength in the women's division? If you can do damage, I think that's like one of the number one attributes. I mean, Jesus, look at those biceps. They're absolutely looking back at the performances, like I said, you go up and down. You're never going to be mad about losing to Godin or Angela Hill, also on the card. Some good wins in there across over the times. Not too many bad performances against bad fighters. Like that's something you're looking at, not trying to when you're trying to break down the fighters. And same with Jillian Robinson. She's nothing to go about, but coming off a loss, maybe not as many high-end performances for Rodriguez, and that's why I'm leaning Carnalesi here, just because I think she has that ability. If it's not going to get finished, to do significant damage over the time to beat Pereira. So that's where I'm going to lead. I'm picking Carnalesi. She is a little bit of an underdog, but sometimes the underdogs win. The fight game is very hard to handicap, and that's where I'm leaning on this one. Going with Arian Carnalesi to get the victory, either by points or just doing a lot of damage. So I'm going there. Bang. Moving on to the next fight, we have Abus Mamagev versus Warley Alves. 25-6-1 coming off 2 losses versus Alves coming off of 3 losses at 14-7. And man, you can go either way on this card. I'm definitely leaving Magomadev just because I think he's got the talent, the juice, and maybe the style to just handle Alves. I think he'll be able to contend himself on the defense with, the takedowns. I think he's going to be able to handle himself on the feet and do damage. Right, he's a very well-rounded fighter that I don't think is going to lose to people that are way below him, right? Like, I don't know who Lewis Taylor is, but that's a lot of wins and only losses some absolute killers there. So, former champ and maybe a future champ in the middleweight division. Definitely leaving Magmadev here just because I think he just has that opportunity. I wanted to pick Alves when I was first starting in there, and then I was just breaking it down. I just don't feel like Warley Alves is going to have the performance in a lower end arena with really not being in the best form. Now he could definitely surprise us and get a finish. That's the and there's no shame in losses to Alskarov, Wells, Dalby, Randy Brown. Like those are really certified cage fighters. But we're moving in there, we're breaking it down, and I think I'm definitely going to be leaning to Magmadev over here. Ah, man, he's a big favorite. I definitely can see this one going the distance. Seeing some wrestling in there, some highly contested mixed martial arts, kicks, punches, grappling, underhooks, jostling for position. But I'm gonna lead Magmadev there in the middleweight division. Should be an absolute firecracker though. But that's where we're going in the next bout. Bang! Here we got Tamaris Vidal versus Melissa Gatto, 7-2 versus 8-2. Both ladies coming off a draws, and they have Gatto at a heavy favorite at -410 against Vidal. And the one thing I can remember about Vidal from watching her last fight is her gas tank ran out and she had nothing left. I really don't think she can compete with Gatto over the course of 15 minutes. I think you're going to look at Gatto and she's going to come in there and just put the output out. She's just going to keep it up and keep going and not stop. She's going to wrestle. She's going to look for leg kicks. She's going to look to do damage. She's going to look to beat this lady up. Lipsky is not. Tracy Cortez, these are not bad losses. Not a lot of activity is what you want to see, but maybe she comes in there fresh with a mean attitude. I think she's a clear, decisive favorite and winner in this fight, just in terms of professionalism. Right, so that's where I'm going here with Gatto, and I'm not trying to trash too much on Vidal. I just think there's levels to the game, and Gatto's got the next level in this matchup. Not saying that Vidal isn't going to throw hands and do a lot of damage, but I don't think her gas tank is going to be there with the output to contend over 3 rounds and be able to finish somebody like Gatto. That's where I'm going there. Definitely not a big, heavy favorite. Not really going to get against the trend too much because I don't have too many reasons for these people to try and give me, get me over to their side. There are more of hunches. So that being said, we're going to move on to the next one. We have Omar Sy versus Antonio Triccoli in the light heavyweight division. It's saying that he's a heavyweight moving down the light heavyweight, which makes me think he has a big advantage coming down, being able to cut the weight. Might not also want to go against massive guys like Derek Lewis. Turn the lights off. Carry me home. That's what they'd carry me home if I fought either of these, one of these guys. And as they hear me talk shit about them, last fight in 2001, not a lot of activity for Trincoli. Don't know, canceled bout. Don't really know what's going on. Maybe some injuries there. A little bit rusty going in there. But I'm definitely not going to go there against an absolute. Looks like a certified killer coming into the light heavyweight division. Probably making a debut in the UFC. Not a lot of action on his end either, but looks like he can handle the distance and get the finishes. I'm definitely leaning Sy here. Big favorite again. Moderate favorite they have here. I consider anything minus 200 as pretty big favorites in the UFC. It's either you're a pretty big favorite or it's a pretty close fight. So to me, this is a considerable favorite. Now, I'm not saying you have to pick them every time because, as you know, every week, plus 200s, plus 300s, plus 400s win in the UFC. But I just Trincoli just not as much as I want to see there. I'm going Sy there. I don't think I probably spent too much time. Probably longer talking than the fight's gonna last. So definitely going there. Into the one that I'm having a tough time picking here. We got Tom Nolan, not Timmy's cousin, versus Victor the Brick Martinez. Now, I remember watching Nolan last time, and he got absolutely steamrolled. And I'm a little worried here. Him as a heavy favorite against Victor Martinez. Last fight, 2003, coming off a loss. One thing that I'm very cautious in when I break down these fights, it always is so different because you can look at the metrics 6'3" versus 5'8". You're like, this guy's still going to get beat up getting touched there. I think that's exactly what gave Nolan trouble in his last fight that he lost. Moda came in there and got to him so fast. And I know Moda is probably not the biggest guy either. I remember thinking this guy Nolan's going to take him out. And he folded like a pup tent in a wind. And I tell you what, man, I can kind of see the same thing happening with that. I think the age disparity is actually an advantage to Martinez here with the experience. He's not afraid to get beat up and punched to do damage. Like sometimes, this is fighting. You got to bite down on the mouthpiece, take a hit to deliver one. And I'm actually probably going to go against the favorites here. I'm not going to pick Tom here. I do like the metrics. Like Trey Waters pays out, Randy Brown pays out. Like these big, long guys in these divisions pay out. But something about being able to generate the power in that division too, maybe Martinez can, and maybe I'm just kind of hedging that. I want to pick Tom Nolan. Like, this is the one thing about doing this video on a Monday before Saturday is like, dude, I know my pick's probably going to change midweek, but I have to get the videos out because I want to get people opportunities to just view both fighters and then see how they progress during the week into the weigh-ins and then can make their bets closer to when the fights start. I am going to introduce maybe a top 5 bets video to come out towards the end of the week after the weigh-ins, something like that. I had that idea, so I'm going to start not only doing the picks and maybe have another video that's a bet video, so we can see track some units, see what we can get going on here with with the stuff. With the picks and seeing if we can get you some specific picks instead of being very fight games so vague and generalized because anything can happen on any day because who weighs in, who's recovered, who's injured, so many factors that go into human beings fighting and trying to figure out who's going to win. I'm just going to pick Martinez here and let's roll the dice. Let's see what happens. Let's see if let's see if Tom Nolan has struggles against these guys that can get in the pocket, do a lot of damage, or very quick. If he's not really experienced, if he can get pushed back to the cage and not control the octagon, let's see what happens. 6-1 fight, a lot of I like experience in the octagon. So we're going there. Victor Martinez. Let's see how it pans out. If I look stupid next week, like kind of some of my picks do, but we just take them as we go. And we're moving on to the next fight. We have Angela Overkill Hill versus Lauren Piero 16 and 13 versus 11 and 2 coming off of win, and Hill is a favorite over Pinheiro plus 130. For some reason I don't feel like I updated this one. I got plus 114, and that's where I'm actually leaning is Pinheiro over Hill. Hill just doesn't do anything to impress me over her career, right? And I think she's fighting somebody with talent and potential, which is tend to when she doesn't perform at her best. I believe it was a rescheduled opponent from the original person that was booked on the fight. Take a look at this. Tapology is amazing with this. Maybe I was mixing something up, but I'm going Pinheiro in there. Gonna get the dub. Slight underdog, but that's okay. That's okay. A couple losses, Hebos and a rear naked choke, but she got some wins. A lot of similar wins against a lot of similar competition. Actually, looks like Angela Hill is definitely a betting favorite for the reason. But I'm going to take Pinheiro to probably do a little bit more. That's all it's going to really take, is to look good, maybe get some grappling exchanges going. That could be a very bad take if I haven't really. But 45% of win condition seems pretty stanch win condition. That's where I kind of like Taker. I think split decision win is something you can definitely see in this fight. I think she'll hold her own on her feet, do enough damage to make Hill commit and take her down. That's really the essence of the fight in a nutshell. It's definitely going over in rounds. We're definitely gonna pick Pinheiro to get the dub for the official picks page. We're gonna move on to my next fight. I'm always excited to see this guy on the card. Adrian Yanez versus Vinicius Salvador. We have 16 and 5 coming off 2 losses versus 14 and 6 coming off 2 losses. And I tell you what here, Yanez, high touted prospect coming off a couple brutal losses. Pretty banged up, pretty good there. I really worry about his gusto in this. Vinicius Salvador coming in there saying as a flyweight contender moving up. I think this is a great spot for Salvador. I want Giannis to succeed and do well, but I really don't think he can take the situation and move forward from there. I think he's going to have a lot of trouble with what this guy brings to the table, because if he just takes damage, we've seen him, he just doesn't do well when he's hurt. And that being said is the actual gusto of what is going to happen in a mixed martial arts fight is Vinicius Salvador is going to do some damage, moving up in weight, probably tired of cutting flyweight, moving up to the bantamweight, has eyes on a prospect, a gatekeeper that's was ranked. And I got Salvador here. I think it probably something crazy, but I can definitely just see him getting a finish. Giannis is one of those guys. He's gonna have to show it to me. You're gonna have to win. You're gonna have to show it to me, and you're gonna have to do better. And that's where I think, despite the advantage, despite the betting odds, I'm taking Salvador there. Bang! Going on to the main card, we got Ramses Brahmajov, butchering names, versus Themba Gorimbo. And man, this one should be a great fight here. We have a pretty one-dimensional Brahimaj. Wrestling only. Has no other way of really getting the win. Does lose every other way. Does lose by decision. Does lose by TKOs. Now, Gorimbo has wins by submission TKO, and that's where I'm going here. Moderate favorite, minus 205 to plus 170. I really like Gorimbo here. I think he's better balanced, more well-rounded. I think he has an opportunity that if Brahmajah can't wrestle him and take him down and submit him, he's not going to get the win. Because when a mixed martial artist can defend the takedown, and you can't beat them or contest them on the strikes, if you don't have combinations, and these guys do, you're just not going to win. The UFC is so cutthroat like that. If you don't throw hands better than the other guy and wrestle better than the other guy, they're going to find a way to beat you one way or the other. So I think the answer will be found in Gorimbo. We're going to keep it quick there. Moving on. Bang! Onto, which I think is a pretty we got Chaos Williams in the welterweight versus Charleston Harris, 14 and 3 versus 19 and 5. Both gentlemen coming off a win. slight favorite, minus 125 for Chaos Williams versus Charleston Harris. And I tell you what, there, Harris is a contender for a reason because he has a way of finding ways to win fights that he shouldn't win. But I think Chaos Williams might have the output, the damage, and the power, the youth, the speed to just absolutely throttle him this weekend. And that's where I'm going to be leaning. Chaos Williams is actually one of my favorite bets. He might be on the best bet video coming in later this week at minus 125. He just has so much polished potential and so many great finishes on his record. You don't really expect him to not be able to contend. And look at, he took Michel Pereira to the distance. You know what I mean? In a loss. That's incredible. That guy hasn't lasted a round in the last 2 years, it feels like. A loss to Randy Brown is nothing. Split decision is like, dude, you're going to split decision Randy Brown, who's one of the most talented and has incredible metrics, and that's what it's going to take for him to beat you. I think he can do a lot of damage. Harris pulled out a win against Wells when Wells was clearly beating him. Wells feels like an octagon discipline problem where he just can't get the job done when he looks so good for so long. And props to him for getting the win. That's always such a factor. I mean, we saw it last week with Ferreira and Rizbekshi. Just the ability to get a win at the end of the fight it's the defining factor. You just get beat up, and if you do that much damage at the end of the fight, that's just what it is. You get them in a position that they can't handle. They're tired. They've made a mistake, and that's the end of the fight. That being said, I got Chaos Williams here. And I don't know if it will be a finish. I think we could see a lot of output. I wouldn't see these guys want to make a mistake against one another because they know they can be finished. I think we see a very cagey welterweight co-main event, but I think we see a very exciting fight. And I think Chaos Williams is going to bring the chaos, the Ox fighter, and ring him in and get a nice W on his record, and somebody we're going to start talking about getting a nice ranked opponent. And speaking of ranked opponents versus somebody that, man, always seems to be around, Edson Barbosa versus Leroy Murphy. We got Barbosa at 24-11 versus Murphy at 13-0-1. That being said, I mean, how can you not like Barbosa in this fight, man? Man is just a derailer. Now, what I will say about this is Murphy has to find a way to KO damage. I don't know what it's going to take to finish Barbosa. So, he has to look better than 5 rounds against Edson Barbosa. No way. Barbosa just destroyed Youssef. I don't know if it was a 3 or a 5 round, but he came back in a main event. He's just an absolute beast I'm not picking against Barbosa, bro. He knocks out guys that I think are contenders and really good prospects. He's an absolute, I don't care, 38 years old. This is an easy one for me. I'm never picking against Edson Barbosa unless he finds up against somebody that's absolutely a menace to society. And I don't feel like Murphy's a menace to society. I think he's a very good fighter, a very disciplined fighter. He's going to have a lot of chances to be great, but I don't think this is one of them. I think this is one where he loses his undefeated record. I mean, Josh Coulibaly, unanimous, Gabriel Santos, nothing incredible about the man that makes me want to pick against Edson Barbosa, who has done incredible things in the octagon. That's the Sadiq Youssef comeback to win. Billy TKO, Bryce Mitchell lost, whatever, bro. Giga Chad is a great win. Lost to Ige, Felder, Gaethje, Lee, Habib. Come on, man. Tony, he's been in there against everybody. I think he's almost in his prime with all the experience and the fact that he gets to go against these guys that he probably has major advantages with. It's Edson or Barbosa all day. We're getting back on the fire pick tracks here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go back, do a quick little recap, but I got Edson Barbosa in the main event. He's kind of one of my guys. If he's a little bit older, long in the tooth, but he's the old guard, man. He is one of those guys that's been up against it. And when you're going to say he's the last fight of the night and he's been there before and, he's not going to be afraid if he's getting beat up in round 1 and round 2, if he can find the timing, find the momentum, make the change and get a win, that's what I think it's going to take to happen. Murphy wants his ranking, but Barbosa ain't giving it up. The thing about these lighter divisions, bro, is these guys that are ranked and towards the top, man, they are freaking A1 steak sauce, cream of the crop, man. The talented of most talent, the killers of killers, dude. They're tough to take out, and they're tough to be better than, and they've just been working their buns off for decades to be great, and they have advantages, and this is where I think it's going to be Barbosa's day. So we're going to do a recap here and see what's going on here. We're going to start with Ducati here over Demopoulos. We're going to do Ducati, Rodriguez. We're going Carnelesi, Magadev. We got Gato, Sai. We're going Victor Martinez, Luana Perino, Vinicius Salvador, Themba Gorbino, Chaos Williams, and Edson Barbosa. Let me know what you guys think of the card. Like, comment, subscribe, please. $100 challenge. If you pick 100% of the fighters right, we will give you $100. Just leave a comment and make sure you're liked and subscribed on the video. Thank you guys watching so much. I know a little bit different of a background on the videos with the stats. Let me know if you like that, and if we're gonna bring it back next week, I'll keep you in mind. But peace and love, everybody.